Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today I am just going to talk about one book because that's all I got this week. I actually was thinking of picking up Justice League number 2, but because of a very volatile economic uh, situation, with the whole trade war thing, NAFTA being slowed down. Plus, you have elections next week, next Sunday actually. The dollar's a little bit up, so yeah, uh, I was gonna pay way too much just for two books. I paid almost 100 pesos for one 3.99 book. So I'm kind of probably be buying one book every week. I'm gonna be probably just buying the Superman books until things kind of get better, because I don't really want to spend too much money on comics at this point. Probably just get the Image books that I get, and the the Superman books, because I don't think at least right now I'm just thinking maybe just focus on that, and when things get better I'll probably catch up. So I have to catch up on a lot of other books that I've missed. So I'm just gonna talk about Man of Steel number 4. Plus I'm gonna do something a little different, because sometimes I think of doing talking about other things, but I never really get the chance to focus on that. I've got a whole bunch, a backlog of videos I want to do that I haven't gotten the chance to do, except the weekly reviews. So yeah, let's get started. So like I said, Man of Steel number 4, the beginning of the second half of the 6-issue weekly series. So this actually takes place prior to the Action Comics 1000 story and after. So basically, let me see. So basically, yeah, this page would be following the one issue when the Action Comics 1000 story, and this page would be probably at the beginning, prior to that issue, to that story as well. So basically we just get the whole fight between Zor and Superman and Supergirl throughout the first half of the issue. We get a little bit more of what happened to John and Lewis, and we get a bit of a shocker, because it seems Jor-El is the one that came back and took John and Lewis for unknown reasons. As we know, this is a very slow moving mystery that will hopefully be resolved in issue number 6. So that's basically this issue. Basically the fight between Superman and Supergirl against Rogol Zar and the aftermath of that. So the ending though is a little bit weird, at least for me, which is, Superman returns to the fortress, and by the way, great work by Kevin McGuire on the art. And they have this conversation, and then this sort of thing blows up. Superman blow up the fortress or something. It seems so, as he's getting his his angle here, and he's getting his hit vision ready. So yeah, but it also seems that Superman actually was communicating with Lois and John and Jor-El, because he actually does mention that he was going to call someone, but he broke the communication, the way to communicate to them, to whoever he's communicating with, which I assume is Lewis and John and Jor-El. And it also seems that Rogol Zar has his eyes set on John. At least that's that's what it's implied in the dialogue. So this is sort of like a slower issue, even if it's action packed for quite a bit. It doesn't necessarily progress the story as much as the first three issues, because the whole, like I said, the whole fight there and the aftermath. But yeah, so it's an okay issue. This is probably the first one that hasn't got me that excited. Um, it's still great, but uh, a bit enjoyable as well. Uh, but really not that mind blowing. So the next two issues probably will be much better. Um, Not as excited as I was, after issue three, which was, I thought, like I said, I thought personally was one of the greatest stories ever, issued ever, because it still had a story, still sort of set things up there. This is more of a rest issue, not so much of a, focusing on. It sort of moved the focus from the big mystery about the fire, but it's moving more into the regular Zor territory. But there's like no real full story, just fight and the aftermath of that fight, and that's it. So now I am going to talk about this oldie, the Superman Secret Files number from 2009. I'm actually going to talk about one story. But before I get to that, I would like to address a comment I got, and I haven't really had time to answer it because I've been trying to find the best way to answer that. That's from Sleepy Reader, who commented on the fact that the destruction of Kandor, he didn't want it to actually be true, which we know it is, and because he would love to see more about Kandor, which after some thought I thought, well, yeah, I like to learn more about Kandor. I want to see, how, if there's some changes in the continuity, how Superman found Kandor. Suppose he fought Brainiac. Uh, if he had, if there's a story there, if Superman had adventures in Kandor, like I said, there's a mention of a bunch of Silver Age characters. So I'm really curious how, if those stories from the Silver Age were brought back to the present, are brought to the present. Uh, but seeing more, or having stories about Kandor now, I don't think DC would sort of go for that. The reason why Kandor was sort of written out after Crisis on Infinite Earths, that the idea that too many Kryptonians would, sort of lessen Superman. The reason why Kandor was taken off the table after Crisis. And when it was actually brought back, we got the whole New Krypton storyline from 2008, 2009. Uh, and that was a year's worth of stories. And after that, they just wiped the entire Kryptonian population, the entire New Krypton, which was basically just Kandor enlarged and then went out to space. And they just wiped, killed everybody, destroyed New Krypton, so as to put the genie back in the bottle. Once they opened it, they needed to get rid of that and go back to status. So, in this case, Kandor served a purpose, like I said in my review from last week, as a way to show how far Ravelsar's mad mission would go. That yes, he says he destroyed Krypton, and destroying Kandor served as a way to show that yes, he's capable of wiping out an entire race because of whatever fears he had about Kryptonians, whether, like I said, real or imagined. He would go and wipe in an entire race. So I don't think we're gonna get more Kandor stories. I would love to see flashback stories, maybe, and because I like to learn a little bit more about what's changed in this new sort of Bendis era, bringing stuff like Decades of Silver Age. So why am I going to talk about this? And I'm going to talk about this story called Blood Sisters. Well, I'm not really gonna talk about this story. I'm just gonna reference it because if you watch the Supergirl TV show, they brought back Allura. They brought Argo City into Supergirl. So, which is very comic book connected because Argo City floating, with a dome. The fact that Supergirl's parents, or at least survived, is also part of comic continuity. First, back in the Silver Age, where Allura and Zor-El survived in the survival zone, which is a part of the Phantom Zone. And then, they went and lived in Kandor. And then in the New Krypton storyline, again, Allura and Zor-El were alive, but then Zor-El was killed. But what I found very interesting and very cool is that they showed Supergirl's best friend Thora Arkvar, which is a reference to Arkvar, which was a character from Kandor, who was the assistant to Van Zee, Superman's a cousin of Superman's, who actually looked a lot like him. And so in the comics, Thorak Arkvar became the new version of the Flamebird. That would be here, right here. As well as being named security chief of Kandor. And so she was actually in the TV show again, security chief of Argo. So I always thought I really liked the character, but like I said, the point that the New Krypton storyline ended, everyone was killed off. And the cool thing, and that the show doesn't use it. But in the comics, Thora was a very religious person, while Supergirl was, Kara Zor-El was more of a scientist. So they were very different. They were opposites, and they got along well. So I thought that was a cool little nod to the comics as well. Even though it didn't really do much with um, with the character. So I hope next season they do go back to Argo, because I thought that was very cool. Um, so yeah, that's it. Very short video. Um, so tell me what you think. Agree, disagree. Leave your comments. I'll try to answer them. If I can't, I'll address them like I did here on video. So until next time, keep smiling.